and Andrew Fallon.
He's up in Bern today doing a quick report of some of the roads here, driving along. It's good. Not too bad today. Just update.
Same traffic network elsewhere, and he's still not back, Dave.
Yeah, he's still got a candy leg, unfortunately, Deborah, but apparently he's well and truly on the way to recovery, so it looks like he could be back again tomorrow. Now, having a look around town, Southern Cross Drive, a taxi's broken down, affecting the city-bound run, approaching Lincoln Road. The M4 after the peak is filtering through the Maze Hill area for the city-bound run. At Granville, Parramatta Road, eastbound is heavy, causing a long line of northbound traffic on Woodwell Road. Windsor Road, thick fog stretching from Windsor through to Kellyville. The M5 peak out east of Belmore Road and the Newtown Erskineville Road remains closed between Bridge and Wilson restrictions. Roadworks should be reopened tomorrow.
It should be dropping
today.
Morning with Deborah Cameron.
Well, Canberra really is the epicentre of all that's going on with the budget. We watched last night the making speech. Hung off every word. Well, at least I'll just welcome Heather first. Hello, Heather.
Good morning, Deborah.
Heather Hewitt is, of course, the political editor for the 7:30 report. I'm going to read you a little SMS that we've had from Dan, Heather. It says, I counted the number of here's, by the way, Heather. There were 40, what did I say? 46 here's last night.
Goodness, he was watching closely.
No, that was me. I was watching that closely. Dan had a much better idea, though, on the SMS. He says, I played a budget drinking game. Every time Swan said working families, I had a sip. I was smashed by 7:39 p.m.
Maybe that was the way to handle the whole thing.
Maybe it was. So, how did you recover?
Not too bad. Look at this. It's always just a build up to these things, and it's often a letdown when it finally comes, isn't it?
So what was it like in the locker? How was the atmosphere?
The atmosphere, you would have to say, was about as exciting as the budget itself. I mean, most of the headlines around today were pretty much, softly, Labor's cautious first steps, and so on. And it was a bit like that in the budget. I mean, I guess what we've probably all got a bit used to over the years is expecting some huge, big surprise in the budget, the rabbit out of the hat, and that certainly wasn't the case with this one. So in the lockup itself, you sort of found people madly rushing through all the papers trying to find the big one, and it just wasn't in there. And once that dawned on everybody, then it was kind of like, well, goodness me, how do we interpret all of this? And it was quite an odd atmosphere.
Well, if there was little anticipation, and I think that workmanlike, steady as she goes, quite conservative sort of approach is something that Mr. Swan and Mr. Rudd both were very anxious to convey.
Oh, they were incredibly anxious to convey that, and I think by the end of the night we're fairly relieved that seemed to be overall, like you always have different commentators and columnists and newspapers having different interpretations on these things, but by and large the editorials and so on gave them the title that they were really after, and that was that, in these sort of pretty strange and tough economic times and inflationary pressures, they'd taken the right steps. So they were relieved about that. But in the lockup itself, I think people were, it was a very, it's a very quiet and odd sort of atmosphere always in these sort of lockups. But I think there was genuinely quite a surprise, quite a degree of shock amongst the journalists in there that there wasn't any surprise. So, there was all those sandwiches and party pies there, that was about the same. But the budget itself was not what they've been used to after all those years with the Howard Costello government.
Well, now, I wouldn't even cast Mr. Costello as a particularly flamboyant character, but if Peter Costello has been made to look flamboyant compared with Mr. Swan and Mr. Rudd, then we're in for a pretty dull ride.
We may well be. But look, they have been dealt a very different card. I mean, as Wayne Swan has said over and over, we've been dealt the inflation card. And we drafted a very different kind of budget. And I think what's also happened now too is that we now really have the government in government phase. Until now, we've sort of had, okay, the government is because of the announcement about Kyoto, the apology to the stolen generation and so on. But we haven't had any real mess. we haven't really had a signal of, okay, how is this government going to set it right, what's going to cut back on and so on. And now they've really got to stand on their own decisions and own record, that they can't continue to blame the Howard government and Peter Costello for what's gone on in the past.
Now, there's a massive surplus, of course, and we this morning spoken to Angelo Gabrielato, who represents the public school sector, saying that that's a great disappointment, that there's a huge surplus and not enough spent on government schools. Is there a risk of amassing a surplus when good tasks should be done?
Look, I think this government is actually in a very difficult and awkward position with the inflationary pressures, and I think it has been fairly responsible, and I think has to be for the time. This is very different to what we've had for the last 11 years of the Howard government, and I think they